Happy Friday to you all. It's the last trading day of the week, and I'm so excited to welcome you all to yet another promising edition of the Forex Morning Mastery with Sheriff Daramola. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on whichever part of the world you are tuning in from. Well, it has been quite an interesting 24 hours as we saw quite some movement in price action, especially on the XAUUSD after it spent a long time around that 1920 level. From the fundamental aspects of the market, we have been witnessing some sensitive data rolling in the last 24-48 hours, especially from the US economic docket, where we saw positive figures from the labor sector of the United States in the last 48 hours. And this has also had a significant impact on the market, where a majority are tend towards the US dollar in this period. However, on the gold, it didn't move as expected in that regard, as we saw, as you will see in the last 24 hours, that the gold rose over during the Asian session right into this time. So we are going to be looking at how we are going to be taking advantage of trading opportunities on that one. Then on the GBP USD, we witnessed some bearish expectation in the last 48 hours, but price seems a little bit choppy at the moment, and participants in the market are still weighing in on the statement from the Bank of England governor, that is Andrew Bailey, as regards to the uncertainty regarding the monetary policy of the Bank of England for this month. Then the Bank of Japan, in fact, we had a woeful data coming in for the GDP. So it shows that the economy expanded by 1.2%, which was below expectation. And of course, we're beginning to see some traction in that regard on the USD JPY. So we are going to be deliberating on that one too. So so far this week, we've been doing fairly well. We've been monitoring three major assets for this week. We have the GBP USD, the XAU USD, popularly known as the gold spot, and of course the USD JPY. So we are going to be deliberating on that and see how we can capitalize on the next move for the last trading day of the week. Now, there's one thing peculiar with last trading days of the week, which I normally emphasize when it comes to Friday's live session here on the Forex Morning Mastery. Considering the fact that today is the last trading day of the week, there is this psychological expectation in the market where majority who had held a position throughout the course of the week are likely going to be doing some profit-taking activities from their positions, closing in some of their positions ahead of the weekend. And of course, this feat normally reflects on the chart as price action doing a reversal against the prior leading price action. So there are chances that we could be seeing some profit-taking activities going on today, some rounding off of trading activities for today, which could reflect on the chart as some reversal setup. So we are going to be taking all this into consideration while we review our current structure. With that being said here, for those who are joining us for the first time, I didn't forget you guys. You are highly welcome. I'm always excited to have newcomers in the house. Now, you might be asking, what is it that we do here? Well, we come together here on a daily basis as technical traders to review if we have any existing position, while we also strategically position ourselves ahead of both the London and the New York session. So this happens on a daily basis, 8:05 a.m. UTC. Technically, the live session, the stream starts around that time. So I encourage you to be part of the session, the subsequent session, and of course, be part of the session till the end. The more time you spend with us, the better you get in understanding how this works, and of course, eventually be able to use the information you have gathered here to make your own independent trading decisions. So with that being said here, You're welcome once again, and let's dive right into the business. And as usual, you know how we do it in this community. The first thing, one of our morning routine, the first thing we normally do is to check on the economic calendar to see what fundamental factors everyone in the market will be looking forward to. And of course, by now you all know that these fundamental factors often manifest on the chart in technical patterns and price movement. And by monitoring the economic calendar, we can easily identify potential correlations between key economic releases and, of course, specific technical patterns on the chart, hereby giving us valuable information that can make us position ourselves ahead during and even after this event. So, with that being said, let's dive right into the economic calendar. So, we normally, traditionally, we focus on high impact event from economies that affect the assets on our watch list, which are the US, the United Kingdom, and of course the Japanese economies. Now, for Friday, September 8th, we do not have any high impact event that will be affecting any of the assets on our watch list. And in fact, I went further to include the medium impact events just to see something that could help give us a light of what to look out for before making our decisions today. But it seems there are none at this particular point in time. So we shall be focusing on our technical skills to help us make an informed trading decisions. So with that being said, we shall be diving right into the chat. And before we do, I would really appreciate your feedbacks in the comment section as usual. Please let me know what the quality of the audio visual is of this session. Is the sound good? Is the video good? Please let me know. And if they are not, please let me know in the comment section, as I will be prompted to do the necessary adjustment just to make us have a better experience out here. And thank you very much as you do so. So I look forward to seeing your comments in the comment section. Tyson Brian, I see you. Good morning. I see your comments. Thank you for checking in. Princess Abulokwe, good morning to you. Glad to have you around too, Princess. All right, so with that being said here, let's dive right into the business. Remember, I still look forward to your comments, please, your feedback as regards to the sound and the video of this. So the first asset we are going to be taking on today, hold on a second. So the first asset we're going to be looking at is going to be the GBP USD. Of course, I think so. Yes, the GBP USD. Now, on the GBP USD, okay, I see your comment, Princess Abulokwe. Thank you very, very much for those feedbacks. Tyson Brian, David Chiweya, thank you very, very much. So, right back into the live chat at this point. Now, for those who are with me on both my TradingView and Telegram platform, you will definitely have gotten an update as regards to what we are going to be doing on the GBP USD for today. Now, we shall run through what the current market structure is saying and what has led into the situation we are right now. So, at the beginning of this week, we initially identified a range where price was caught within our key level. Remember, we had a key level, and it's very, very important that we have key levels highlighted on our chart, as they normally serve as a yardstick to guide our trading decisions for that week. Now, we had our key level at the 1.2600 area, and of course, you know how we attend to our key levels in this community. When price remains above the key levels, we look out for patterns and structures that supports the idea of buying that asset. But if price drops below the key level, we look out for selling opportunities, of course. Now, in this case scenario, we had a range initially where price was confined within the 1.26, which was our key level, and the 1.25850 to give us an insight into the level of indecision at that point in time. And of course, when price broke out of that key level, I told you that it triggered my first buy position for the week. And of course, the second position did not move well, as we saw the breakout retest of the 1.262100 level. So the second position went into a loss. But we were able to recoup the loss we made as we saw price breakdown, retest that key level, that's level at the 1.26210 to incite a downtrend scenario. And in fact, on Tuesday stroke Wednesday, we had this simple setup here where we had another trend line identified, another trend line identified here, where we looked out for a breakdown retest of that trend line to give us an opportunity to add more position to our existing trade. As we saw it, price dropped significantly to the downside. So throughout the after the first day of the week, we have been selling the GBP USD, and congratulations to everyone who has been part of this profitable journey so far on the GBP USD. Now, if you look at what has been going on here in the last 24 hours, it is quite clear that the market is very, very indecisive at this point in time, as we really have not seen any major traction in that regard. Now, look at what happened here since yesterday. Remember, yesterday during our live session, we acknowledged that price was confined within the 1.249 and the 1.246, which of course was a sign that price is market participants are not sure where price action will likely go. And of course, we remember that we talked about the comments made by the Bank of England governor Andrew Bailey as regards to the uncertainty of the monetary policy decision for this month. And of course, they went further to emphasize that the decision will be data related. So it depends on what the economic data says that will determine if there are going to be a rate hike or there will be a pause. But we should all understand that the rate hike has been affecting the United Kingdom's economy negatively. For instance, business owners are finding credit facility very, very expensive because of this interest rate, and as a result of that, it hampers the growth of the, let's say, the manufacturing sectors, the services sector, as well as a lot of businesses are dropping in laying off their staffs just to make sure that they maintain their business. So this is not really a good period for the pound sterling at all. Now, if we look at things from a technical standpoint, are there chances that the pound sterling will grow, or are there chances that this is going to continue to roll down to the downside? Now, there has been a margin, a profit margin between the US dollar and the pound sterling. Though the pound sterling has a higher yield in return, but it still looks, the US economy still looks more stable than the pound sterling. Hence, majority are betting more on the US dollar. And at this point in time, things are still looking very bearish considering what has been going on here in the last 1 week. Now, how do we intend to position ourselves for today's trading session? Well, if you look at the structure closely, let's go to as far back as last week Wednesday. You will see here that price action has been on a very strong bearish momentum, and in fact, if we connect the series of lower highs here, we have a couple of descending trend lines here which further emphasize the potentials of the sellers in this market. And you all know how we do it in this community. When price remains below our descending trend line, we have no business buying that asset. Now, if we go into what things are looking right now, let's say in the last 24 hours or so, despite the breakout of the 1.249, you will see that the bullish traction hasn't really been strong. And as a result of this, there are chances that sellers could still come in at any point in time. So how do we intend to maximize this move? Now, remember, price remains below the descending trend line. Price was unable to break out of that structure where we said we'll be looking out for buying opportunity. Now, if price cannot break out of that trend line, then, and with no economic data to look out for today, I'm of the opinion that price is likely going to be rolling down. And if that is going to be the case, where are we going to be joining that move? Well, personally, I would like price to take out all the buy positions along the 1.24600 area to give me an insight into the strength of the sellers, and of course make me comfortable selling the GBP USD. So I would like to see something like the breakdown retest of the 1.246 to be part of a bearish move to the downside. Now, I'm also considering selling even before that breakdown happens. In fact, if I begin to see significant evolution of price action in favor of the sellers, I would like to join right before the breakdown of the 1.246 so that I can maximize the potential of that bearish move. Now, one of the parameters I will be using to guide my early entry on this one is that ascending trend line I was able to spot here in the last 24 hours. In fact, we have higher lows here, giving us signs that buyers are trying to push price to the upside, but the trend lines has since been negating their potential here. So if we connect the series of higher lows, we have an ascending trend line, which I will call a temporary one, as we're still within the seller's territory at this point. So I would like to see price break down the trend line and the 1.249 area to give me a signal, then a retest of structure on our lower time frame. So as soon as we have the breakdown of structure, we scale down to the 5, 10 or 15 minutes time frame to look out for signs that buyers are finding it difficult to climb back above the ascending trend line. And of course, this would reflect on the chart as a retest of structure. Price continue to find selling pressure below that area, and you can see how that area also shares a beautiful confluence with that descending trend line, of course, hereby making that area a good spot to join a bearish momentum. So if this happens today, I will be joining before the breakdown of the 1.246. So when we have that, we enter the trade, then we have a sell stop order below the 1.246, and let's ride that move all the way to the downside. So this is what I'm going to be looking at to enjoy any bearish momentum in this particular market. Now, in as much as we're looking out for possibilities of sellers coming in at this point, we cannot ignore the potentials of buyers too as well. Anything could happen. Whatever value an asset is in the market is not really what is, as the worth of any value in the market is based on the sentiment in the market at that point. And if the market participant decide to do profit-taking activities, for instance, price has been bearish since the beginning of the week, and majority might be considering taking out some of their positions ahead of the weekend, as we never can tell what could happen during the weekend stroke Monday morning. And if that is going to be the case, profit-taking activities in this market is likely going to be inciting an uptrend scenario. Now, if an uptrend scenario is going to happen here, how do we expect to capitalize on that move? What do we want to see on this chart that will make us feel comfortable considering buying this asset? So now let's look at that quickly. Now, I would like to do some couple of adjustment here to make things line up with the expectations for today. And one of the things I would like to do here is to mark this level at the 1.25100 area. Now, I will tell you why that level needs to be marked out in a moment, but let me draw this one out first. So we have the 1.25100 area, a level which okay, I would like to give this a different color. So let's give it a green, and then let's mark it out on our chart. So we have the 1.25100. Oh, sorry. Okay, so we'll go back again. So we have the 1.25100 level duly marked out on our charts, as we shall be using it as a reference point to guide our bullish expectations in this market. Now, I'm looking at something here. I'm looking at a psychological level, actually, but let's just use this as a reference point. Let me bring out my line chart. Let's see the majority. Okay, I think we should use 1.250. So 1.250 looks very okay at this juncture. So we have the 1.250 marked out. And one thing you will notice about that 1.250 level is the fact that since price came into this territory, we saw how that zone has continued to negate every attempt by the buyers to break out of this range. Now you saw what happened here on Wednesday. We saw the breakdown of that level. Since then, price action had continued to retest the level at every point in time. Price comes into that area, and of course this is a beautiful sign that sellers are very strong around that area. And one interesting thing about that level is the fact that it also shares a beautiful confluence with those descending trend line we spotted earlier, making it a very crucial juncture in this market. Now, if we are going to be considering buying the GBP USD today, I would like to see price action take out the sellers along that zone, and this will reflect on the chart as something like this, where price will be breaking out of both the 1.25 level and of course that descending trend line. And if price breaks out of that descending trend line, this will be the first time price will be breaking out of that structure in the last 10 days. And if this happens, then we want to start considering buying this asset. Now remember, we are not getting too excited here. Remember, price is on a very strong bullish momentum in this market, hence we need some confirmations to happen so we don't join a false breakout and then find ourselves regret that we joined that move. So we will need some confirmations here to give us that confidence that truly we are going to be buying this asset. So what we are going to be looking out for as confirmations as soon as price breaks out of that level and that trend line is for us to scale down into our lower time frame, where we shall be looking out for signs that sellers are finding it difficult to stay below the 1.25, and this would reflect on the chart as a retest of structure, after which we want to be joining an uptrend continuation. So this is how we are going to be getting ready for any bullish opportunity in this particular market today. So let's see how the market will play out in the next couple of hours, and trust me, I will be with you on both my TradingView and Telegram platforms to give you updates on what will be going on in this market if price action ever gets into that area. But at this point in time, I'm still looking forward to a bearish momentum here, but we cannot ignore the potentials of buyers too as well. Then there is one more reversal setup I would like to share with you here on the GBP USD. So if we look at the structure closely and considering the impulsive move that started on Tuesday, I think we saw this scenario. We saw something like this, looking more like a inverse head and shoulder pattern, where the 1.25 is serving as the neckline of that area. So you can see the potentials of a reversal setup coming in at any point in time. So the 1.25 area will be a major determinant of buying opportunities if price action does break out of that level and of course validate that reversal pattern for us. So let's see how the market will play out, and of course we shall continue to monitor price action on this one as well. But I still think price will be going to the downside. So let's see what happens. If you have any questions whatsoever as regards to my illustrations, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions whatsoever as regards to the current setup, after which we shall be moving right into the next financial asset on our watch list. All right, so I see your comment, Samuel Nuno. Good morning to you. I'm glad to have you around and thank you for your feedback. I really do appreciate it. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are all on the same page here. So permit me to move on to the next financial asset on our watch list. So the next asset on our watch list for today is my favorite, and that is the XAUUSD. And in fact, I have two charts here on the XAUUSD. I actually had one yesterday, which we deliberated on, and we talked about how the price has been on a strong bearish momentum since the beginning of the week. And in fact, we have a descending trend line, which of course has been supporting this bearish momentum. And let me remind you, the XAUUSD appears to be the most profitable asset in our watch list for this week, as we were able to scoop in over 600 pips in profit just on this bearish momentum we took advantage of at the beginning of the week. And remember that we continue to add more sell positions along the line. As you will see, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positions before we were taken out of that position after price broke out of that descending trend line right here yesterday. Now, this was the chart I was sharing for those who are with us on the XAUUSD live monitoring window yesterday. You will be familiar with this, as this was the setup we were looking at yesterday to guide our trading decisions during the New York session. So we spotted this structure here on the 1 hour time frame yesterday during our XAUUSD live monitoring window, where we were looking out for buying opportunities as long as price remains above that ascending trend line and the 1,920 level. And for those who were with me during the live session yesterday, remember we acknowledged this level, the 1,920, where we said we need price to break out of that structure. And of course, we also had this ascending trend line to give us an opportunity to feel comfortable in our buy position. And it took quite a long time for price to really gain that traction. As you will see here, it took about 7 to 8 hours before that momentum began. Then I began to receive a lot of messages, private messages, as regards to what we are going to be doing here. Price is staying too long. Is it time for us to sell? Is it time for us to buy? Blah, blah, blah. But one thing I would like to state here is that we do not want our emotions to drive our trading decision. It is not good at all. The only way we can feel comfortable in any position is by planning our trade and staying true to our plan. And remember, if you looked at my trading journal during the XAUUSD live monitoring window yesterday, I told us all that the only condition that will make us sell the XAUUSD was for price to break down and retest the $1,917.50 level before we jump into that position. And of course, that never happened. Though we saw price come back into that area at a couple of times, but it never closed below the $1,917.50 level, let alone retest it to push price to the downside. So it was quite obvious that we are not going to be buying at that point in time based on that structure. So it took quite a while, and in fact, when price action takes a long time in a structure, it begins to bring in compulsive nature, where we begin to start doubting our strategy. So we do not want to be falling into those traps. So let's always mark our levels out and follow through with our plan. And for those who took advantage of this opportunity, we were able to see price move over 68 pips before this bearish momentum happened. And remember, we also had another level at the $1,922.40, which also moved about 40 pips before the sell momentum began. So we were able to add a little bit of more pips to what we made so far this week on the XAUUSD. And for those who have been part of this journey since the beginning of the week, well done to you guys for being on standby to capitalize on this opportunity. And in fact, you can afford not to trade the XAUUSD today. We're on a very strong positive side of our portfolio. But if you do still want to trade this, let us look at the chart together. Now, if you still have a buy position here, let me state this clearly. If you still have a buy position at this point, it is very necessary that you move your stop losses accordingly to secure this position. Personally, all my buy positions have been closed on this one. So if you want to be moving your stop loss right now, anywhere around that second entry seems most appropriate to move in your stop loss at this point in time. So with a well-secured position at this juncture, what is our next line of action? What are we going to be looking at? Are we going to continue selling, or is it time to start getting ready to join an uptrend scenario? Well, for those who are with me on both my TradingView and Telegram platform, you must have gotten an update on what we are going to be doing today. So I would like to run through the commentary on what I said here this morning as regards to the setup. So it's a very simple setup, simple commentary here. I said with over 80 pips from 2 buy position, it is high time we secured positions. So it's as simple as that. Let's secure positions and let's see how the market will play out here. So right now, going into the London and New York session today, what is going to be our plans? Now we have a level right here, that is the $1,922 level, and interestingly, that level also shares a confluence with that ascending trend line we spotted here yesterday. Now we want to see if the market would respect that ascending trend line one more time, and if that is going to be the case, we would likely be seeing some buy pressure around this area, like double bottom, head and shoulder pattern, whichever case it may be, to join an uptrend continuation. So if price gets into that area and we begin to see some buy pressure around that area, then definitely we want to be getting ready to buy. However, if price action does the contrary in this case scenario and instead breaks down the $1,922.40 level, then we will start getting ready to sell the XAUUSD. Now remember, price action has been on a strong bearish momentum since the since Wednesday of last week trading session, and coupled with positive data from the labor sector in the United States, we might likely be seeing some traction in favor of the US dollar, likely. And one more thing we look at here from a technical standpoint is the continued selling pressure we noticed around the 1,926 level since the early hours of today. As you will see, this level or zone here has continued to be a barrier for buyers at this point in time, hereby giving us signs that sellers are very present along that area. So it's giving us something like a double top structure sort of a thing, a reversal pattern there. So we shall be looking forward to price breaking down that ascending trend line to give us an opportunity to sell. Now, if we are going to be selling right there, I would like to see some retest of structure to happen before I jump into the position. And if it doesn't happen, I'll let that trade go. So I want to see a retest of structure before I jump into any sell position at this point in time. And if price continues to drop to the downside, remember we have multiple levels here that we can use to maximize the potential of this bearish move. So we have the 1,920 level, we have the $1,917.50 level, and of course we have the $1,915.50 level to maximize the potential of this bearish move. So that is how we are going to be managing our position here on the XAUUSD. Now, if price does not drop back into the $1,922.40 area, I'm talking about this zone here. If price does not drop into this area and instead it continues to find higher highs, then a breakout of the 1,926 level would have taken out all the sell positions here to give us a signal that price is likely going to continue the uptrend. So let's see how the market will play out, and of course I will be with you in the comment section of both my TradingView and Telegram platforms to give you updates as at when due. So these are my views here on the XAUUSD. So you do want to be marking out those levels on your chart, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide your independent trading decisions. So if you have any questions regarding what I just explained so far, feel free to let me know in the comment section, and trust me, I am here and willing to be of help in that regard. So let's see if there are any questions, and you can as well use that time to mark out these levels on your chart. All right. So, in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are all on the same page here, and my explanations are quite comprehensive enough for us to relate to. So, with that being said, let's move on to the next financial and, of course, the last asset on our watch list for this week. So the next asset on our watch list is the USD JPY, and in fact we had an interesting situation here on the USD JPY. Remember, we started buying this asset at the beginning of the week before we saw a little bit of change in momentum after price broke down that ascending trend line that signal an opportunity to sell. And remember, yesterday we sold the USD JPY, but it appears that that movement did not last long. As you will see, we had price move about how many pips in our favor? About 85 pips before the buy pressure resumed. And one of the things that we talked about as regards the fundamental aspect of this market yesterday was that the fear of the Bank of Japan's intervention in the market led to the scenario we saw here. Now, if you look at what has been going on here since Tuesday's trading session, especially after buying the USD JPY, we notice that there is a barrier, a formidable barrier for buyers around the 147.800 and the 147.6, further emphasizing the level of fear in this market at this point, as majority, as soon as price gets into that level, they begin to close in some of their positions, as they don't want to get caught up in a potential crash that may likely happen around this area. So as a result of that, we begin to see some selling traction in that regard, and we agreed here yesterday that if this continues, that a breakdown of that ascending trend line will be all we need to confirm that we will be going bearish on this one. And in fact, we saw price breakdown. In fact, if you had missed out on the breakdown, it came back to retest structure, and we saw about a 85 pip move happen here before we were taken out of all the positions, all the sell position. Of course, if you had moved your stop losses accordingly, you must have been taken out at a worst case scenario break even on the USD JPY. So the bearish traction here didn't really move that well. Now, the economic data coming in from the Japanese economy yesterday, remember we were looking forward to the GDP data. It came in below expectation, as we saw an expansion of 1.2% compared to the previous expansion of 2.5 or 2.4%, which is not something very encouraging at all. And from fundamental perspective, the Bank of Japan, the officials of the Bank of Japan are still holding on to their monetary policy. You know, the Japanese interest rate is minus 0.1%, which is not competitive at all with the US dollar. So making that margin a little bit more wider and making this a very attractive window for investors to use their yen to buy the US dollar because of the variance in that yield. Now, with this scenario here, what is going to be our plans for today? From a technical standpoint, what is it that we are going to be doing in this market today? Now, I would like us to run through my commentary on the USD JPY this morning. For those who are with me on both my TradingView and Telegram platforms, you definitely must have seen this and be familiar with what our plans are. But for those who are not, let's look at this together quickly and see how we intend to manage our positions for today. So this is what I said here this morning. I said selling pressure persists as price action remains below the critical level we discussed in our live session yesterday at the 147.450 area. Remember, that was the level we were using to guide any bearish momentum. That is, if price remains below that structure, we feel comfortable in our sell position. However, it is important to keep an eye on potential bullish signals, especially considering the consistent buy pressure observed around the 147.00 zone since the beginning of the week. Even the less than expected GDP data showing a 1.2% expansion in the Japanese economy hasn't provided much support for the yen. So we find ourselves in a somewhat indecisive fate at this juncture. If you have any active sell positions, it is prudent to secure them as buy pressure could emerge at any point in time. Stay vigilant and adaptable in this evolving market. So this was my commentary here on the on the USD JPY. So let's look at this from a technical standpoint and what are we going to be looking at for today. Now, one of the things that I noticed, which is very paramount with the structure, is that 147.00 area. Now, if you look at the 147.00 area since the beginning of the week, you will see how it has been a strong buying niche for participants in this market. Look at what happened here on Tuesday, sorry. We saw the first breakout of that level, and since that moment we saw what has been going on around that area. This was Wednesday, and look at what happened here on Thursday. So you can see how this level had been a major barrier for sellers in this market. So every attempt by sellers to break down the structure, despite the strong selling niche around this area, was met with strong resistance from the buyers. Now, will this be a platform that will incite another wave of bullish momentum? Well, time will tell. Then another thing I also observed around this area is, after considering this impulsive bearish move into this area, I'm beginning to see something that looks like a reversal pattern in the form of an head and shoulder pattern gradually unfold on this chart, giving us clues that we might likely be seeing a reversal setup. And whenever we identify a reversal setup like this, the next thing we want to be doing is to identify the neckline, which interestingly lines up with that 147.450. Now, that is not all about the structure. There's another thing about the structure that makes that area a very good sweet spot to look out for buying opportunities at this point. Now, another thing here is this descending trend line. So if you look at the structure here, I have a couple of descending trend line here, which interestingly shares a beautiful confluence with the 147.450 area, which could serve as a potential neckline of that reversal pattern. And of course, it's serving at that level. We also have the descending trend line. So if price action breaks out of both the descending trend line and the 147.450, and coupled with the fact that we have the reversal setup gradually unfolding here, we might likely be seeing an uptrend move around this point. So let's mark these levels out on our chart. Very, very important, as we shall be looking out for the breakout retest of the 147.450 to capitalize on an uptrend scenario at this point in time. So that is how we shall be looking out for buying opportunity on this current market structure. Now, in as much as we're looking out for buying opportunities here, well, I also want to state here that if price goes on to finally break out of the 147.800, please mark my word, the move is likely going to be very massive. So let's be on standby to capitalize on that move. But if the contrary happens and instead price action will be respecting this descending trend line one more time, then we'll have no other choice than to look out for ways through which we can sell this asset. But personally, I will need price to take out all the buy positions along the 147.00 area to feel comfortable considering selling these assets today. So let's see how the market will play out here. So we have the 147 level where we shall be looking out for selling opportunity if price breaks down that structure. But if price breaks out of and reaches the 147.450, then we have a signal to join a potential uptrend scenario at this point in time. So these are my views here on the USD JPY. I do hope they are quite explanatory, but if you feel there is an aspect you need me to clarify, please feel free to let me know in the comment section. So as usual, I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions whatsoever before we draw the curtain for today. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I assume that we are all on the same page and we are well equipped to take advantage of these opportunities today. And I do hope that you have marked out those levels on your chart, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide your independent trading decisions for the last trading day of the week. Now, that reminds me, I already dropped the XAUUSD live monitoring window. I dropped the link right in the comment section. You want to click on the link, click on the notify me button so you can get notified when we kickstart the session. Now, for those who don't know, the XAUUSD live monitoring window is a platform that was born about 7 weeks ago, where we all come here together during the New York session to monitor the XAUUSD price action real time here on this platform. So you do want to be part of that session so you can be part of this interesting experience that we have here on the XAUUSD for today. So the link is right in the comment section. Click on the link, click on the notify me button so you can get notified when we kickstart. I think I see a comment here from Princess Abulokwe. Despite the inverted head and shoulder on USD JPY, is it too early to sell? Very good question you ask there. You can afford to sell. There are two ways to which you could take advantage of trading opportunities, especially in this case scenario. Now, the first one is, since we have been profitable so far this week, you can afford to leverage on some of the profit you have made so far this week to capitalize on that opportunity. Now, if it doesn't work, you know that you just leveraging on the profit you had made so far this week and is not eating into your portfolio. But if you are new to the setup and this is your first time taking a position, well, I will advise and encourage you to wait for confirmations before jumping into any position, any sell position here. Now, the reason why I said we should be careful here, despite the fear that is dominant in this market right now because of the potential intervention of the Bank of Japan, which has gripped the market, you would notice that the 147.00 area has been a strong buying niche in this market since the beginning of the week, and I emphasized on that earlier. Look at what has been going on here. Buy pressure, buy pressure. We have buy pressure here again. And in fact, at the point where price even broke down that structure, you see how price was unable to settle down below that area. So it seems not comfortable for sellers at all around this area. And judging from the nature of the wick of this candle, you will see that we have something like an hammer candle which technically is a sign that reveals the presence of buyers in this market. So for me personally, because of this continued buy pressure around this area being a memory for buying power since the beginning of the week, I'm very, very dicey about selling anywhere above this level. So for me to sell and feel comfortable, I will need price to take out that 147 level, retest that structure for confirmation, and then I could be part of a bearish move at this point. This is what I'm looking at on the USD JPY, and I hope my explanation is quite clear, and I hope I make a lot of sense to you at all. So let me see what your feedbacks are, Princess, as regards to the setup, and I do hope I made myself very clear on that one. I see your comment, Sierra Mbuso. Thank you. Okay. Will your weekly analysis be live too? What do you mean by my weekly analysis? We've been doing weekly analysis right here. I'm not sure what you mean, Sierra. Can you please rephrase your statement so that we can all be on the same page here? Please let me know again in the comment section. So these are my views here on the USD JPY, Princess. I would like to see your comments, your feedbacks as regards to what I said before we draw the curtain for today. So we were able to attend to 3 financial assets today. We talked about the USD JPY, the GBP USD, and of course the XAUUSD, popularly known as the gold spot. And in fact, using simple parameters such as trend lines, key levels, and chart patterns, we were able to gain valuable insight into the historical price movement of this asset, and at the same time identify simple setups that we can use to guide our trading decisions for today's trading session. So I wish you all best of luck today. Okay, I see your comments, Princess. I'm glad you found that useful, and you are very much welcome. So I wish you all the best of luck today, and for those who are joining us for the first time, I do hope you are able to gain 1 or 2 things from what we discussed here today. And in fact, I encourage you to stay tuned in and be part of our subsequent edition, as the more time you spend with us, the better you get in understanding how this works, and eventually be able to use the information you have gathered here to make your independent trading decisions. If you have found this content helpful and useful in making your independent trading decisions for today, why not support the project by giving the video a thumbs up? Your likes are valuable, and in fact, it's the cheapest way for you to support this project. Please do. I really appreciate it. And in fact, the more likes we have here, the better the algorithm will push the video to a wider audience of traders who may find this content beneficial to them too. Thank you very much for doing so, and I wish you all the best of luck today. I wish you best of luck. I wish you a wonderful and happy weekend. And don't forget, I will be preparing my plans for next week during the course of the weekend. So if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do, so that you can get notified whenever I upload new ideas ahead of next week's trading session. So on this note, I wish you all the best of luck once again, and do have a wonderful evening and wonderful weekend. Looking forward to seeing you all in the comment section as always, as we continue to monitor price action. Do have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye bye.